Welcome to the midweek preview, where we've got another fantastic midweek card, this time at Rosehill, where the rail goes out to the 7 metre position. Dry weather since the weekend has ensured that the track has dried out, and Gord, he is hoping, because honestly it looks like a program you want to get your teeth into.
Awesome program. Some real top quality horses running around tomorrow. Yeah, quite excited about the day.
Yeah, so 7 metres, look, it was 6 metres in this. This program last year was run on the 6 metre rail. It was a little bit on pace, a little bit up the inside, but the right horses could win. And the horses we made excuses for on that occasion, like Asanara, who went around short odds for Jay McDonald and hasn't run since, it's perhaps a little bit instructive that that we're quick to judge and perhaps not so quick to reflect later on. Race 1, 2-year-old Colson Gelding's maiden, and French Tune from the Gay Waterhouse Yard, unbeaten in his 3 trials, is $2.90. $5 is Schubert from the O'Shea Godolphin establishment with gun on board. Then we're out to $8 Calculated Waller, $9.50 Albumin, $12 Solar Patch, $13 Snitch, $13 Kennedy, $16 Zeppelin, $18 Campaign. I imagine that French Tune, who trialled the other day without his blinkers, is a bit more focused tomorrow and is certainly in the van. Albumin led on debut at Canterbury, comes home tomorrow and certainly will be forward. And I couldn't tell of the debutants which runners were possessed of natural speed. Gord, you've had a look at all these?
Had a look at all these, had a look at all the trials, and came up with the answer, which was reasonably confusing. I'm just going to stress again that like 2-year-olds that have had a run just tend to have an advantage over the other lot at the moment, because I don't think there's just like a lot between them, you know.
All right, so you've got 2 to choose from there, Albumin and Kennedy.
And I'm choosing Kennedy. Particularly at the price. I think it's about $12 at the moment or something like that. I actually spotted something for a certain portion of that race on the heavy track at Warwick Farm that indicated to me that this is actually a decent quality horse. The fact that they've gone for Gun on the other one and Wreath on this one, you know, leads me to have a little bit of a question mark there, but I'm going to go for the value, the $12. And obviously the Gay Waterhouse stable is still going very well, and this horse has done nothing wrong by having 3 trials for 3 wins. One thing I'll mention is that Florid, the O'Shea thing that came second to it in its last trial, went down to Canberra on, was it Sunday or something like Sunday. That, and was quite unimpressive. So I was looking for a little bit of value, so I went 7 from 5.
Okay, look, 5 is obviously a horse that's of serious interest here. I'd suggest the other one I'd look at is Calculated, which is a Waller 2-year-old to be ridden by McAvoy. I just like the way it bounded out of the gates in a couple of its recent trials. So in terms of these debutants, there are the horses of interest. Well, Campaign cost nearly $500,000 at the Magic Millions sales. Solar Patch, Gary Moore's horse, who has, done reasonable things in its trials but doesn't look to have much of an edge, is $600,000. And Zeppelin, who looks particularly slow for Gay, the bottom one cost $500,000. So perhaps the answer is a pineapple. Race 2, this time for fillies, and didn't mention it, went around at Hawkesbury today, so she won't be going around tomorrow. Where does the market lie? It's quite wide. I think it's $5.50 Zanzibar, who's a touted debutant from the Gerald Ryan Yard, who scratched the aforementioned, didn't mention it. $6 Memento, $6.50 the Speedy Brook Magic, $6 She's on Cue, who was scratched from her English Classic assignment. And then we're out to $14 Grassland, $16 Ellen Rowe, Torval, $14 Limbo Soul, $17 Foxy Queen, $16 the top one Ibanez. Brook Magic, as I mentioned, is Towie, and Ibanez resumes with blinkers on. I could perhaps be persuaded forward. And I guess that Gerald Ryan's horses are generally prominent, and Zanzibar could be expected to go forward from her wide gate. You're keen on Shoes and Q in the Inglis? Are you with her here?
Well, I'm saying this is she's running around on a Wednesday, and I should actually be even more confident, but I'm actually not quite as confident, but still clearly have her on top.
Well, it is 1100 rather than 1200 on the home track the other day.
It got exactly the right setup for the 1100 metres. She's what I think is the best horse in the race, but there are a lot of other horses in this race that you have question marks about. You know, Gerald Ryan down the bottom there, Zanzibar won its only trial against Foxy Queen. If you want to have a more detailed look at this, go to Racing New South Wales and have a look at all the trials, because there actually are connections between quite a lot of the horses that'll get you like a bit of a guide as to where you sit with those particular horses. I did mention before that I like the 2-year-olds to have had the race. So Brook Magic, I thought, did absolutely nothing wrong on quite an icky track, and when you lead and sort of show a bit of dash like that, I think it shows that it might be a horse with a little bit of ability. I know that Pollitt mentioned Ebenez last preparation as a horse that looked like a nice type.
On debut, he's tipping it from the Mounting Yard Mail.
Yeah. But for me, look, I was a fan of She's on Cue. When I see a trial like that, I don't change my mind. Dracaris came out and blew that opposition away, although it did get to the right part of the track at Warwick Farm and come down the outside. But clearly I have number 9, She's on Cue, on top.
Right. Any interest in the trials of Memento? She's had a
I'm just
short
in love
course
with those.
trial and then a 1050.
Okay, yeah, well, obviously tricky stable as far as trials are concerned, because we're looking at the Cummings. Obviously the Brenton Abdullah booking is a good sign, but just doesn't show me anything yet. But I do have to say, those colours are just flying at the moment, aren't they?
There's nothing like fast colours, is there?
Yeah.
Look,
Big heart.
Yeah, you recall that race at Warwick Farm where we were tipping the Steve Engelbrett, Deanne Pena horse that wobbled around there, and Gay's horse did most things right, was on the speed throughout and got the job done, and this horse attacked the line, I thought. So she's resuming off a short break with the 2 trials under her belt, gun, and for mine everything looks in order there. Number 3, Memento, is the way I want to play race 2. Then we get to everyone's favourite race of the day, 2400 metres. How would you live or breathe without this sort of race? $2.90 Most Exalted, $3.75 Storm System, $4.60 No Return, $8 Destination Tucson, who did such a great job in breaking through at Beaumont last time, $11 Aladis, and then we're out to $21 Paragon and Mac Missile, $51 Penaragina. Now, Paragon is a noted on-pacer at this distance, and he'll be getting forward tomorrow, and Mac Missile will be right up on the speed. I had No Return in the next position there. Anything to offer here?
Mac Missile.
You just tip the wide out for him every time we come to these races.
Yes, of course I do. Because haven't you? I mean, you know, as we've mentioned before, the markets are too wildly spread in distance races. So
Right.
I'll have a throw at the stumps on a long shot, where I don't need to get too involved.
Yeah, you're just taking the piss there.
I'm just taking $16.50 rather than $33.
Most Exalted has been back to the trial since he failed at the 2400 off a break, and I'm not sure if he's a 2400 metre horse. He's out of a Danehill mare. I think it's a Danehill mare. So I'm suspecting that he's actually more of a miler than a 2400 metre horse, which is a question mark. Storm System was a horse that I found last week and is on the 7-day backup, and the only trouble is that his only 2400 metre run was pretty poor. It was the day that I Direct pissed off on them, and this horse was going to be right in the finish on the turn and only got beaten 9.1.
The form lines are the ones that jump out at you. Like a Sizzling Bullet has to be like reasonable.
Yeah, but they came home like in 43 seconds for the last 600 last week. Well, not 43, but they just crawled home, and Storm System was in the best part of the track. I'm putting up my hands a bit. I'd suggest that Paragon, who has been streeted in his only 3 runs back, can improve sharply tomorrow, because he is the horse with the 2400 metre run. Just go back to to the 20th of August. It's a Saturday race. He beat Dowston Charlie, and I'm not saying he's close to that form, but he is near enough to give some sort of run tomorrow. So Paragon would be a worthwhile suggestion in what is the despised 1.5 mile race. The second staying race on the card is race 4, 3-year-old 1800 metre race this time, and Dawn Wall is our favourite, $3.80. Royal Navy loses Corey Brown, gets Josh Parr tomorrow, $4.60. $6 Winebush, a winner over 1800 down at Flemington. $8 Salsonic, $8 LABN. $11 Improvido, $17 Ready for Success and Belle de Sud, and $31 Tempers Flare. Keen enough up front, I had LABN right on the speed. Belle de Sud won't be far away. Royal Navy is naturally fast at this distance and won't be far away. Tempest Flare is a horse we've only seen in town once. 1300 on debut at Warwick Farm, he set outside the lead, and up to 1800 can't be too far away. Do you like this race?
Yeah, best horse in the race. I think it'll just win. When you watch the replay, like even past the post, it was super strong as well, which is number 5, Dawn Wall. We're both a massive fan of Karen McAvoy at the moment. This horse is just better than these.
It was a phenomenally impressive last
Yes.
time. Phenomenally impressive.
I'm just saying that Royal Navy is taking up too much percentage of the market. I don't think it's an 1800 metre horse.
It's not.
So.
It's a 1400
Yeah,
metre horse. I totally agree with that. And he fell in a hole at a mile. Look, I understand that was the spring stakes, but 1800 is just going to be a problem here for him. LABN interested me slightly in that she looked to do a good job to win a shitty maiden at Wyong last time. T. Clark to ride just posing up there, and other than that, I mean, Winebush has got some creds. Yeah. Loses Bowman, gets B. McDougall. 1400 up to 1800 is a little sharp for mine, but...
So you see that 1800 metre win, was in Flemington, wasn't it? So
yeah, it was the grand final, the day after grand final day. It was that meeting. Look, Dawn Wall, eminently bettable for mine at this juncture. I did try to start looking for Belle de Sud because she's got limited city creds. It's a bit of a hollow race. Improvido, Gord, can you excuse his last start?
No.
Provincial flop?
No.
Of course, he was monster odds when he bloused them at Kembla prior to that.
You're monster odds blousing, and then you go and you flop like that. It's just never going to be a bet for me.
Okay, so that's the front half of the Rosehill card. I can promise you there's even more juice in the back half of the card, where we've got
awesome
1300 and then a trio of 1400 metre races to round it out. So stay tuned for part 2, where we'll cover the last 4 races from Rosehill.